I think it's on, John.
Are we? Hey, we're on. I like that. Well, here we are again. CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Persons. Let's get that right. And most of us are retired. Well, not all of us, because Hugh Kruzel, who is our chair,
isn't retired.
No, he's not officially retired. And
well,
I keep trying, John. I keep trying.
and Jack Decorby is definitely retired.
Yeah, I have been so for quite a while.
And he's our special guest here on this episode. And Hugh, perhaps you can do a little introduction. I mean, I know known Jack for years, as have you, but I think you've talked to him recently on one of your radio broadcasts on CKLU. Is that correct?
That is absolutely true, John. I had the pleasure of running into Joyce. Well, not actually physically running into her, but I was on the pathway on the boardwalk here at Lake Ramsey, and it's unusual to see Joyce without Jack or Jack without Joyce.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very
even
true.
At NOSM, with the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, the two always are together.
And not when I'm doing a role or anything like that.
No.
She's not an SP. She's not an SP.
Oh, she isn't an SP. I didn't know that.
No.
Okay, well, we're going to have to recruit her some way.
Oh, wait, just a minute. What is an SP?
Stupid
person. Standardized patient, special person, yes. Standardized patient. They're the people who actually model or, I hate to say.
Pretend illnesses.
Pardon?
Pretend illnesses or afflictions.
Right, yes, definitely so.
The reason it's called standardized, John, is because there are usually 3 or 4 identical people playing the identical role. And they have to be identical roles, because we're playing in front of a group of students that are in the same class. We don't want to play one thing to one group and one thing to another group and a third thing to pay a third group. So they're standardized. Okay. We do a lot of acting, pre-acting, just to make sure that we are standard, that we all make the same response to the same queries.
Yeah, and Jack's absolutely right. One of the big places that this has to be standardized is the Canadian Medical Association tests or examination. Yeah. That thing actually determines whether they're going to be able to practice in this province or not. And you can't portray it differently. Your name has to be bang on. Your symptoms have to be exactly the same. Your blood pressure, everything about you has got to be by the book.
Mm-hmm. So how do you become one of these individuals? Or do you have to have a condition previously, or you just play the condition?
You have to be alive.
Okay.
They do not take cadavers, but that's it. You can
sometimes, Jack, it's just a warm body, isn't it? You just stand there or sit there or lay there, and they. Although one time I had to shave my chest because they were doing heart issues and whatever, and that was not pleasant. But anyways, especially growing back, it was crazy. But often it could be a worry, it could be concern, it could be smoking or alcohol.
Well, there's even end of life issues. How do you tell somebody they're terminal? And so you have to play a guy that's dying. Invariably, when you play that role, John, I come in with a support person, usually my daughter or my wife or something, to get another SP to play. And I've done it quite a number of times, where you're going to receive bad news, and I've got to be pretty sad about it and that kind of thing. And you maybe have to pluck a hair out of your nose or run. No, it's pretty intense.
Right.
The student has to learn how to deal with telling a patient, look, the news I have to give you is not very good.
Well, if you're interested in doing this sort of thing, how do you go about it if you want to be one of these individuals?
They're always recruiting. We could put you in touch with somebody that'll.
I think, John, we'll have to do a program on NOSM and standardized patients. And remember, not the only school of medicine in Canada, but it's the only one in Northern Ontario, in Sudbury and Thunder Bay. It's located. The students are dispersed. The idea was to develop a cohort of doctors who would both be trained and of course want to be involved in even First Nations communities, and they want to stay here. It was about retention of healthcare professionals here in the North.
Not just that, but we do try and recruit
Yes.
First Nation people as we do Francophone people.
Mhm.
And so we work hard at recruiting these students. Once they're in, they have to pass the same stuff as the rest of us. But
Right.
I think when they're recruiting First Nation, they give them a little, make it a little easier for them to qualify.
Mhm.
Once they're in there, though, they have to pass exactly like the rest of us.
Right.
Mhm.
Now,
So
now,
actually,
I was gonna say,
John, what I was going to say is Jack didn't need to actually portray an incident. One of
That's
the
right.
reasons we're talking to him today is because Jack Decorby, who was somebody we still trust him, but years ago he used to be on the radio talking about the weather. He was our chief meteorologist here in Sudbury and across north. You'd listen to him on CBC in the mornings, and I'm sure many times people went, "Jack, don't tell me there's a storm coming," but he did. For how many years, Jack, were you were here doing?
Well, we came here in 1976. So, and they closed the office in 99. So,
And it's not just weather for us; it was for travelers, for aircraft, for
absolutely, farmers and construction people and hunters. When hunting season came along, we'd get all kinds of calls as to when sunset was. It's not
Right.
really a meteorological thing, but they called us anyway.
well, Jack, not only the CBC, but all the private stations in town also made use of your services.
As you well know.
Yeah, well, I can recall that we had the opportunity on one of my programs to have you as a guest, to answer those delicate meteorological questions as
Yeah.
as why is it raining when you predicted sun, and and those sort of things, which I guess
today, John, we've got both. We've got sunshine and rain. It's a phenomenal day here in August 2020.
Is that, and Jack, the weather office used to give out those percentages, like the 30% chance of rain today. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with percentages like that.
It's the John Q. Public that requested that.
Is that right?
For a long time, the Americans had that probability of precipitation in their forecast. So people were saying, well, why can't you do that?
Yeah.
The Americans are doing it. Why can't you give us probability of precipitation? As soon as we gave it to them, they said, well, when is it going to be 100% or when is it going to be 0%? So you can't win.
So we were talking about portrayal of incidents and accidents. Jack, you had a 100% experience with our healthcare system, and you ended up being injured. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I fell riding my bike. I was going pretty fast down a little hill, and I tried to signal to my wife behind me by putting out my hand, and just about then I hit a bump, and my wheel went this way, and I went flying and landed on my hip, broke my hip. And
so was that a break like caused by osteoporosis, or was it just because of
No, I landed sufficiently hard. I must have been doing something like 25 kilometers or 30 kilometers an hour, and I landed blam right on the ground. And I don't think a teenager's hip would have survived any better than mine.
Well, let's actually go there. You are 81 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Tomorrow.
Happy birthday! Wow.
You.
Yeah, 81 years old tomorrow.
And John, are you out biking?
Well, I do have a bike, however, and I was, of course, a very active cyclist. However, one knee doesn't want to cooperate anymore. So, as a matter of fact, but anyway, we're not going to get into that because at least I haven't broken anything, knock on wood, as yet. But Jack, did this hurt? Could you tell when you fell that something was wrong?
It didn't hurt initially. I think there was a bit of shock, but it didn't hurt initially. It only hurt when I decided I wanted to get up. Oh no, that wasn't happening.
Ooh.
that wasn't happening. We were lucky though. It just happened. There was a crowd of people. There was even a graduate from Nawsum there, a young doctor, and she was very helpful to my wife, and so was the bystanders. They offered to take my bike home, and somebody lent Joyce a cell phone so that she could phone an ambulance because I couldn't get up. There's no way I could get up. Even with the ambulance, they had to split the stretcher in half. They kind of can do that and slide it underneath your butt. And, went well though. I was very happy with everything.
So
And
did
so
they?
you-
Yeah, I was going to
you-
say, did they take you to the hospital right then and arrange for
Yeah.
the procedure?
They did. I had to pass a COVID test before they did anything to me. I had to wait, 3 or 4 hours, I guess. Wasn't too bad. It wasn't in huge pain, but it went extremely well. I was very pleased with the way it operated. I did it on a spinal, so I was awake the whole time and talking to the anesthesiologist, quite a bike guy. I don't remember his name, but he rode bikes all over the world, and we were talking about biking and stuff while he was.
And so how long were you hospitalized, Jack? And it's your femur that actually was
Yeah.
injured.
So what is a femur? Isn't that a leg part?
No, it's the bone between the knee and the hip.
Okay.
This femur. It's your hip bone. Connected to the knee bone, connected to the.
Yeah. I remember that. Yes.
How long was your hospitalization, Jack?
Well, I got out on the 2nd of July, and when I broke my leg was in 14th of June. I stayed in there much longer than I wanted because I was really able to move around and do everything, and I was agitating to get out. In fact,
No, because you're very active. Both you and Joyce are out walking. You're out doing things. You just told us you're cycling. I imagine in the wintertime you maybe curl or go skating.
I used to curl when I was a kid, but I haven't curled here yet. But I'm always tempted. But we do walk in the wintertime as well, and we go to the Y. So we spend a lot of time at the Y.
Talking about that, the Y and the Older Adult Center, the Parkside Center, we were just talking to them the other day, and there seems to be some concern. As you know, us older folks are apparently more susceptible to the serious implications of COVID. And I understand that there won't be any pool, there won't be any card playing, the restaurant won't be open to the public. So what does that leave for the Older Adult Center? I wonder.
Really don't know. I really don't know. I used to be on their board. I was on their board till last year.
I remember, yes.
And it was a good board. We did a lot of good things. We did establish this Parkside Center without walls, which is virtually a meeting almost like us, except there's no video. They do it on a telephone on a conference call, and they meet people who can't get there and who are maybe depressed and need company. And it's worked extremely well. We've gotten lucky because there was a lady there that was pretty experienced in that kind of thing, and she decided to take it on, and so she's kind of leading the thing, and it's going fairly well.
Well, I know John Riche, of course, who's the manager there at the center, and Peter Marshall, I think, was involved as well.
Yeah,
too,
I've worked with Peter quite a few times.
Yeah.
As you know, Hugh does. I don't mind selling tickets, so I try and sell tickets, and I sold tickets for CARP too, and I will do so this year again if we can.
Right.
We will.
Yeah.
Yes, we're looking right now as this is being recorded. We're examining the possibility, as we understand now, the Hard of Hearing Home will be on sale tickets as well in the New Sudbury Center and also at the house itself. Now, we don't know any of the details where the house is, as far as I know. Do you, Hugh? Are you aware of where
Yes, I believe it's actually beside or close to last year's home.
Okay.
There's a sign, and it may just be sitting there, but there is definite construction going on along that part of Countryside, Algonquin.
That's where it was last year.
Yes.
On the Countryside Drive. And
with the seniors, Jack, I mean, we're both about the same age. The Parkside Center, as originally, I recall we set up for a computer room, turned out to be too small, and then we had to set up other computers down in the eating area, And now, of course, everybody's got a computer. Most seniors seem to be online now, and the need for the computers at the Older Adult Center is not as great. So it's amazing how things change over a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But there's a lot of other activities that people do. There's a lot of dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, they run these little things on Friday afternoon. All it starts around, well, not quite at noon or just before noon.
Yeah.
And they do they got some music playing, and they award little prizes. It's really, people have a lot of fun. It's done a lot of really good things.
Well, Hugh, of course, is too young to get into the Older Adult.
No, he's not. He's like, you don't
Maybe.
have to be that old.
No,
You're
one of
in
the
your 50s.
no, one of the things that I can recall when they lowered the age to 50, because we had so many people retiring from pensions from back then, Inco Valley and Falcon Bridge, Vancouver, and of course Sudbury Hydro. They're retiring, after 30 years service, maybe 50 years old. So the age limit was lowered. However, one of the concerns is the parking. The city of raising the parking age for it, which was half price for parking at the Older Adult Center. Now you have to be 65 plus before it was lowered. And of course, now with parking becoming a little more restricted downtown, the parking for those attending the Parkside Center is a little more challenging. So those are the things I think the city has to look at going forward.
Well, the city's got a pretty heavy job to do that way, because more and more the city tries really hard to reduce the amount of parking there is downtown.
Yeah.
And so if you reduce the amount of parking, it's going to be harder to give cheap parking to anybody.
Yeah.
Because for some reason we're reducing the amount of parking. Even that stuff where the Y surplus parking for the Y were close to where the market is or was. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, yeah.
That parking is supposed to be used up by some green space or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's I think they call it the Greenway. So yeah, it does I guess leave some questions to be answered. Is if you want people to go downtown and you want them to find convenient parking at reasonable cost, and yet when you take it away, it seems to be sort of counterproductive. But is that just us old folks talking, or other people feel the same way?
Everybody drives a car these days. Maybe what we need to do is get some great big parking lot somewhere away from the downtown and bus people in to the downtown from that parking lot for free. I don't know what maybe we're waiting for Star Trek transport technology, where you stand in a little pad and transport you downtown.
Let's talk about parking then at the hospital too. I mean, that's a bit of an issue for some people. Jack, are you going for physiotherapy? You're not going for physiotherapy now, are you?
I am, but I'm not going in anywhere. I do physiotherapy with a very fine young lady named Christine Debuc. She's works for the Lynn Network, and we do it exactly like this. And she watches me. My wife follows me around with and watches me do my exercise, and she says, "Well, you're too easy with that. We'll move them when we change them." And she's been excellent. Actually, I've gotten better physiotherapy from her than I did in the last part of my hospital stay, because she's really proactive about changing things.
Can we actually go to the topic of you being an older adult and going to the hospital? There's been a lot of criticism of the hospital system here in Ontario, and some criticism at Health Sciences North, the way things are going, cutbacks, people sleeping in hallways. Jack, what was it like for you? Was it good, bad, ugly?
Well, the part was it was good as far as I was there. I thought I was there too long. That's the only thing I didn't like. I thought I could have been released at least a week ahead of time, because I didn't need anything that they had. Like, they would bring me my pills. I would do my walking, do my bathroom stuff, do my shower stuff, do my physio all by myself, and get dressed, get whatever. I didn't need anything except they'd bring me my pills in the morning.
Sounds to me like you've got your Superman cape on and you're
Well,
so able.
I think there was a bit of ageism going. I think they saw my age and they said, "You can't possibly be doing that."
Leaping tall buildings.
Well, I wasn't leaping any tall buildings, but I was moving pretty good. I had a walker, of course, but I was moving pretty good. I could put on my shoes and getting myself dressed. get out of bed, all that kind of stuff.
So it's partly attitude as well as aptitude.
I think it's attitude. I think it's attitude. I think they didn't realize that I'm probably pretty equal to somebody who's in their 30s and 40s in terms of my ability to get around after a break like that. And they expected me much more frail than I am. Even my doctor was a bit surprised when I last saw him. He watched me walk to the x-ray and he says, "You're amazing."
So what is the why are you in such relatively good shape? What have you done since you actually retired that sort of kept you
Always exercise. I've always exercised. We always walk. Prior to that, we were walking, my wife and I both walk maybe 6-7 kilometers a day. So it keeps us fit. And certainly in this COVID-19 thing, you can't go to a Y or to a gymnasium. So we'd walk and do that kind of thing.
So how about keeping mentally active? What's the secret there?
Well, we discuss with people. I read. I do crossword puzzles. That kind of thing. It's just
You pick up books from the little library on Brenda Drive.
I did. Yeah. Well, not much, but I'm going to return some one of these days because I'm getting through a bunch of them.
How far are you walking now, Jack? How far can you go?
2 kilometers.
2 kilometers. Okay. And no biking yet.
No. I broached the subject of riding the e-bike yesterday with Joyce, and I got a negative comment.
Oh, we can imagine, right?
I did not think that was a great idea. But
If I could ask you another question, we only got a few minutes left here, but you're a meteorologist for many years, and you studied weather, you reported on weather. Now, a lot of people are wondering about climate change and the changes in weather and that sort of thing, and most of us are just strictly amateurs, and we only hear what we hear on the TV and radio. But from your perspective, what have the changes been like? Is this something that's really quite valid? Is it something that we should be concerned about? Well, maybe not us who are 80, but for younger people going forward.
well, it is valid. It's entirely valid. There is climate change. Anybody who denies that is not thinking. It's just there is climate change. Our summers are warmer, and sometimes some areas are cooler, but we are getting some very severe weather in a lot of parts of the country.
But even for seniors, Jack, if we have more freezing rain events, which we did to the past 2 winters, that's disastrous. I mean, people wouldn't be falling from bicycles. They'd just be falling on sidewalks.
Exactly, Hugh. That's exactly right. I remember when I came here, we hardly ever got any freezing rain. Now, you get it almost every week.
That's right,
So
and that's also contributing to the amount of treatment on our road surfaces, the amount of sand and salt that has to be used.
Absolutely,
as well.
and that goes into the lakes, and it's a self kind of fulfilling thing. Well, it changes the climate. Everything changes the climate, but I don't know what the heck we're going to do about it. We're pretty addicted to consumerism.
We are, as we are approaching the end, John and Jack, I should mention, if somebody's interested in listening to a full episode of an interview with Jack Decorby, they can just Google my name, Hugh Kruzel, and the word podcast, and you will find an interview with Jack Decorby talking about all his experiences, 25 minutes or so, be on what happened, how it happened, how he's coping with it. And again, now that was a few weeks ago, so you might have different perspectives today than you did at that time.
Yeah, I'm walking a bit better, although people think I'm doing just great. When I walk outside, I walk with just a cane now.
Right. And
So
the whole street comes out and they cheer. They say, "There's Jack Decorby."
But the people who know me, because I walk with some people, I still make muffins in the morning, and they come for muffins and coffee after the walk in the morning.
Oh, I'm
What
coming.
are you doing? You're doing
What time?
It's at just about 8:30. 8:30. You want to come, Hugh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at our next CARP meeting, when we have our next CARP
Drop
meeting.
into my house. You can come in for coffee and talk to us.
No, you're going to have to bring them to our meeting. We're going to auction them off or something.
Famous Jack Decorby COVID muffins.
I made some COVID muffins too one of the churches wanted the homeless needed muffins, so they quit asking me to do it. Well, they just quit with the program. They may ask again. I just heard from the minister, and she said we're thinking of doing it some more. But I told them, let me know. I'll be happy to make some.
Well, you're a committed volunteer to community, aren't you, Jack?
I sure am. It's a little harder now though with the COVID thing, and being that I'm 80 years old, I got to do things like make muffins. It's
Right.
hard for me to be doing my
John,
job.
I see the clock is ticking. We're moving into that zone. I'm from my part, I want to thank Jack for being here and John for setting this up once again. And I think you're going to share it with other CARP groups across this country, aren't you?
Well, we have, I guess, just a final comment from Jack here. I guess when you retired, looking at your years in retirement, did you ever think they'd be this long? And any comments on that?
I sure didn't. I wasn't ready to retire. They closed my office. That's why I retired. I wasn't ready to retire. I'd probably still be doing it if they hadn't closed my. I really enjoyed what I did.
Right. So now, just one final thing. When you're talking about the weather, do you just lick your finger and go outside and hold it up? Is that how you do it?
No, that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
I can see you every
Stick
morning.
your finger out the knothole. If it gets wet, wait, it's raining.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Jack, and of course Hugh for being with us, chair of CARP Sudbury, and we will talk again eventually. Goodbye for now. Bye for now. Thanks again.
There, guys.